April 10th, 6:33 p.m. For the Ordinance Committee meeting in 2024. Present with us on the committee, we have Councilor David Bartley. We have Councilor Jenny Rivera in person. And online, we have Councilor Linda Vacant and myself, Councilor Israel Rivera. Within the council chambers, other councilors that we have are Councilor Mike Sullivan and Councilor Carmen Ocasio. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to take agenda item 1 off the table, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 1 is the meeting minutes for March 27th.
Make a motion to
2024?
approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then I'm also gonna motion to take a roll call vote. That
All
for
my
the,
calls.
not a phone call vote, a roll
All my
call.
calls.
Motion to take a roll call vote that for the purposes of this meeting, we would be applicable to all motions to remove an item from the table, place items on the table, package items, open or close a public hearing, or suspend the rules unless there is an objection.
So
Right.
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to take agenda item 2 off the table and open the public hearing.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? Second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
So the public hearing is a petition for the speed bumps for Laurel Street. 1 second before I pass it over. I have a couple letters to read. One I have from Melissa LaFawn, encloses a speed bump petition. This is the actual petition. And then here we have from the interim city engineer, Victoria Hool. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Given the length of the roadway, I would suggest trying to locate 3 speed humps along the road in order to be most effective. We would need more time to come up with a plan and a detailed cost estimate, but preliminary, I would estimate approximately $30,000. As a point of comparison, to Bemis plan includes 3 speed humps and 1 set of RRFBs. I do not know what that means. With a cost of estimate of $40,500. It may make sense to hold on putting together a plan until the location is approved. So, in a sense, when we mean locations is approved, we mean location of where the actual speed humps will be located. And then from Ben Sullivan, we have the City of Holy Ghost considering a speed hump on Laurel Street after numerous complaints from one vocal individual. The one individual does not speak. So this is actually someone from, I think this is public comment.
Well, we haven't opened it yet, so.
Okay.
Oh, we have opened, but you might get. how about-
No, I want to wait. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay.
So anyone that would like to speak, feel free to come to the microphone and you're able to come and speak. Just say your name, address, and
Hi,
Hello?
I'm Melissa LaFond. I live at 45 Laurel Street. I'm the one who submitted circulated and submitted the petition to the city. It's a very busy street. Traffic is speeding it excessively. We've had multiple accidents, 2 accidents since the petition was filed, and one car flipped around and took somebody's fence out. Another car flipped over and landed in front of their house. I have a neighbor next door who informed me this weekend that he was taking a left into his driveway. He was coming down Laurel Street towards Brown, taking a left, sitting there waiting for oncoming traffic to turn or to go by. And just as he was about to go, cars started passing him on the left. There's just no patience. Last night, there was a 4-wheeler going down our street with 2 women on it with no helmets flying down the street. They went up on the sidewalk down at Northampton Street and continued on down Northampton Street. Motorcycles are starting at the end of Laurel Street at Northampton and going towards Brown, doing full wheelies the whole way down just to see how fast they can go and how far they can go. It's excessive. It's not safe. There's a park across the street, which isn't really utilized by a lot. I think possibly because of getting to that park might be a little bit dangerous. There's a daycare on the street. The kids they have an area in the backyard for them to play, but there's anybody coming down the street is not paying any attention to any pedestrians or bicyclists or anything happening on the street. I've seen people's dogs get loose and screeching tires because of their dogs. Another neighbor told me that they're unable to keep tenants in their property because their cars keep getting hit because they have to park on the street. They have a short driveway. And so they're unable to maintain their tenants. I guess basically we just want to reiterate that I think it's important that we slow the traffic down. There's no reason to go that fast. And that's pretty much, to summarize it, you've all seen the letter, you've seen the petition. Pretty much everyone on the street except for the the ones that are rented signed the petition as was required. So the only buildings that didn't sign, there was one house that didn't sign because I could never get a hold of them, and the rest are apartment buildings. So we just like to request that the city do something about it, at least to make an effort to try and slow this traffic down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would also echo that I appreciate you guys all coming in person, right? You could have been online, and also putting together and filling out the petition, because I try to do that on Willow Street. I live on Willow Street at 25, right? The park, I use it. My dog is loose half the time, and sometimes there is screeching. So I hear you guys. I'm 100%.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Bill Moriarty, and I actually live on Willow Street, which is the very next street to Laurel. I've been in the neighborhood for 34 years. I think one of the main reasons we're all here is the unfortunate driving habits of mostly people under 30, but, that's not ironclad. There are some of us over 30 that could drive better too. Anything and everything we can do to kind of combat that problem. I mean, they're so out of control now. They're hitting houses. I mean, younger people always went faster than older people, but we never did much beyond hit a tree or a telephone pole. You didn't drive across a lawn and hit the house so hard you wind up in the living room. This is just beyond out of control. This is going outer space. So, and probably looking at your phone while you're doing it to add insult to injury. So it probably would be warranted, because I know Laurel has a lot of traffic. It is a main shortcut inner city highway. It's not a highway, but people from Chicopee and people from downtown use it as such. And it probably would be warranted to have speed humps there. I don't live on the street. I don't have as much to say as folks that live on Laurel, but that's just my opinion, and I live right next door to you. However, I would be concerned because every action has reactions. And I know I've had a brief conversation with Councilor Revere in the past, and he had an idea for Willow, and I'm not sure where that's proceeded. I had some reservation that well, maybe I'll interject this now. I mentioned I didn't want to see one of our residential streets, particularly Willow Street, turn into a skateboard and bike park. If you make it so quiet, it tempts kids to just be out there taking over the street. And kids are innocent, but they're loud and so on and so forth. Now, there is a skate park, but it's down in Pulaski Heights. That's 2 miles from our neighborhood. Maybe we need to look into another skate park up the hill, Crozier Field, up by the Donahue School, Community Field, Springdale. I don't know where all I only know of the one that's down near the river in Ward 4 at Pulaski Heights. But we might need to put more things like skate parks for kids up the hill and closer to the neighborhoods in that area. Let's see if there's anything else I was going to suggest. Well, I guess if my fear is if there's 3 speed bumps on Laurel, these kids that like to really just let it fly are going to come down Willow Street because they're not going to want to endure the 3 speed bumps. They'll just shoot down our street, not even stop at Brown Avenue, wing a left, and then head downtown. That's foreseeable, and we got to do something there if we If we do A, B, we may not need 3 speed humps, but we might need 1 or something to just make Willow less attractive. You know, whether you go this way or that way, you're going to hit a speed bump. So that's something I would throw out for consideration as well. But by history, Willow has picked up extra traffic. I was talking to our previous city engineer, Bob, and I'm forgetting his last name, started with H. Bob. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I know who you're talking about. I forgot his last name too.
Bob Parent.
Parent. It was with a P. Yeah.
Bob, what is it?
Bob Parent.
Parent. Yep.
Parent with a
Parent,
P.
yeah.
It begins with a P.
You threw us
Bob
off with
Parent.
H, Bill.
Yes, I had a couple of conversations with him about neighborhood trafficking and so on and so forth. And I mentioned part of the reason we get a little bit heavier traffic on Willow is because you cannot turn down either Glen or View because they're both one way going up towards Northampton Street. And he said that should never have been approved. It makes no sense to convert two-way streets to one-way streets and not have them opposed. They should be opposing. I know the neighbors in those streets love the way it is right now. It's made their streets nice and quiet, and they would go kicking and screaming if we had to reverse one of them, but sometimes you have to flip a coin. Which one has to make the move? But it has given Willow Street, everybody that has to come back into that neighborhood between Laurel and Willow and the cemeteries has to come down our way. And heaven forbid they have to go to the bathroom or something because they're really pumping. And so Willow picks up extra traffic just because of the 2 one-way streets over towards McDonald's and Denny's. So that's a problem, and if we could just make one of them go the opposing way of the other, that would help the neighborhood overall, even though it might anger and sorrow someone on one of the 2 streets. But you know, sometimes to do the best thing, you gotta have a little bit of discomfort. So these are ideas I just wanted to throw out to you, having lived there so long. But everybody in any neighborhood sees the way people are driving today, and anything and everything we can do to kind of slow them down is a help, I guess. So.
Thank you, Bill. And then for awareness, if anyone doesn't know, Councilor Cocaine Givner has put out the traffic pledge to try to mitigate some speeding too as well. It's more of a perception-based ideology, but anything that can help. So reach out to Councilor Givner, and she'll be able to give you the information around the traffic pledge as well too. Pledge. So you would pledge to not speed and pledge to actually stop at the stop signs, no rolling stops, like actually do what you're supposed to do. And I mean, ideally, it's more I would say an earthy, crunchy type of approach, but whatever works, right? For some people, perceptionally, if they take the pledge, they're actually going to listen to it. Not everybody's going to take the pledge because they don't want to listen.
You're not on the mic, so thanks, Bill. Well, you're not on the mic, but you want to keep talking?
No, he's all set. I'm talking to the public.
Okay. Well, you're
Yeah, I'm talking to the public real quick, informing them on the traffic pledge.
interacting, so
That's okay.
I know it's okay, but
Next.
Hi, I'm Kayla
Next.
Rodriguez. I live at 14 Laurel Street, and I'm just here to let you guys know that I've been living there for 8 years. I have 3 kids, I've experienced some scares with traffic. My house, my fence in the front has been hit by a vehicle, not once, multiple times. I've also, before having the fence, I've had cars, either drunk or whatever, go in my front little, driveway. Every single vehicle I owned and I parked in the front has gotten hit by a vehicle, speeding or just impatient, causing all these vehicles to park on the sidewalk, which is not attractive on that street. So my kids are not allowed to drive too much their bikes around just because of the speeding. So just here to let you guys know that it is a problem. So I'm in support of this petition.
Thank you.
Good?
Yes, just name and address.
Yep. Hi, my name is Laura Ketchiku. I'm at 5 Laurel Street. My sister, her partner, and my nephew live with me, as well as my daughter. My nephew is 6 years old. He gets on the bus at the corner of, Brown, next to Charles. People constantly run that stop sign on Brown, and I believe Bartley was out there with my sister and actually saw people running that stop sign consistently. They pick up speed, rip around that corner, fly up the street, they pass the school bus, they don't care. The other issue is that Charles has no stop sign on the Charles-Laurel end. I have complained about it numerous times because this morning, yet again, there was almost a T-bone accident.
So
Because
for clarification, Charles is the street where the building is, right?
Charles
Kinda
is the
where you
street where
live?
the apartment building is, that's correct.
Yes, okay. There is no stop sign, you're
There is
right.
no stop sign there. I was told there was. I've complained numerous times about it. There's no stop sign there on the corner of Charles and Laurel. In front of my house, we have witnessed numerous accidents. It was on camera, one of them, where a car hit another car head-on. They flipped over onto what was a tree stump, slid, pushed the car that was parked past my driveway into my driveway and blocked my driveway completely. And we had to make a phone call to have somebody come and get the car towed out. So it's not just the fact that people are speeding down that road, it's that they're careless. And the carelessness has caused numerous accidents. It's putting kids into danger. Like somebody said, there's a daycare on that street. And I'm sure parents who come down that street to pick up their kids don't feel safe. Because I know for a fact, just pulling into my driveway, if I'm making a left, I've had people pass me while I'm turning into the driveway. And they don't care. They don't care if they hit me. And I don't even feel safe on my own street pulling out. So I'm very much in support of the speed bumps. We need to get stuff slowed down because it's just not happening. And in terms of people running the stop sign from Brown Avenue onto Laurel, I'm not sure what can be done to actually stop that because it's consistent. It's every single day. Every single morning when I come into work to make that left on Brown, I have people whipping right by me. They don't care that the stop sign's there. So I think there also needs to be a conversation about strategically setting up the speed bumps in a way that people have to slow down at that stop sign instead of like whipping around that corner and flying down Laurel Street. Just a thought.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
Hello, my name is Amy LeBron. I am actually at 31 Washington Ave. This is also going to, as you guys said for Willow, is going to cause an issue for Washington Ave. Washington Ave is already a speedway. I actually spoke with the mayor's assistant a couple years back to make it a three-way stop instead of the two-way stop. We finally got a three-way stop there at Charles and Washington. However, the first time the stop sign was put in, it was put in the middle of a sidewalk and behind a tree. So that did absolutely nothing. I watched ambulances fly through the stop sign. Can't see it, so of course you're going to fly through it. Like I said, I'm right there at the corner of Washington and Charles. I see it every day. So I do agree with the Laurel speed humps, absolutely 100%. It's scary. I wouldn't even allow my kids to ride their bikes on Laurel when they were smaller. Now they're 19 and 22, it's a different situation, but I don't even want them walking my dog down that street. It's a scary situation. So as far as that goes, I'm actually going to be starting a petition as well this weekend for Washington Ave to do something because this has been an issue for many, many years. We've had the house for 8 years, and it's been a situation for exactly 8 years. So, like I said, I'm all for that petition for Laurel, but if you guys could help us out with Washington as well, it's a scary situation for both streets. Our street is a cut through. They cut through from Northampton Street to South Street. That corner right there, the corner that they have to take is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, somebody's gonna fly through that. They've already through the fence and into probably someone's backyard. So it's a scary situation, and we're right there at the corner. Thankfully, none of our cars have been hit, thankfully, but it is a very scary situation. They fly down our street. Same thing with the dirt bikes. I know someone had mentioned that. Dirt bikes, the four-wheelers, they ride by with no helmets all summer long. It's a serious situation up in that area. So it would be nice if when that petition comes out and is handed to you guys as well, if you guys could help out with that because something's got to give.
Yeah, once the petition, with regards to the way the petition is written, Councilor Bartley could correct me if I'm wrong. mostly homeowners or property owners on the street have to sign, and if
Yep.
you get at least 80 to 90%,
Yeah, I have
it
the
automa-
petition
so
itself.
it automatically kicks in, and the process works. Like we have to kind of address it. Not
Okay.
just- it's not like something we can ignore in a sense.
Yeah, because I'm
Am I
like I said,
correct?
I'm very, very worried that once Laurel, I'm praying that Laurel gets
I've
one.
been thinking about Willow Street too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I live
it's
on Willow
scary
Street.
because all these streets, our street is already a speedway, so it's just going to be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they don't want to deal with the speed humps on Laurel, they're just going to have more of them come
Yeah.
down our street. We already have that when there's parts of Northampton Street that's blocked off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We have buses, we have it all, and that's another thing. We have the same thing. We have bus stops on the corner of Washington and Charles. There is absolutely no stop sign on the corner of Charles and Laurel. So that's, it's absolutely ridiculous. So that'll be coming out too, but I definitely 100% support their petition. Go for it.
Can I just add something again to mine? Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
That,
Take two.
you were just talking about the petition is when it's filed. I filed the petition on September 28th, 2022.
Yeah, no, it takes a long time.
Nobody responded until I resubmitted it
Well,
in March of this year, though. Just pointed out.
I chair for only the last 4 to 6 months,
Right.
and I have to admit that being the chair in this little bit of time frame that I have, there's a lot of city business that comes through
I bet,
ordinance,
I
and it
bet.
makes it difficult to kind of like prioritize where you're at, right?
bet.
And I know that I prioritize this one because I know that it's been in the coffer for a while.
Okay.
And there's a couple, like there's
I
a
just wanted to
Bemis one that's
clarify that
coming
it
up.
was filed back then.
Yeah, nah.
There was no action, there was nothing done to our knowledge. The purpose of refiling it was to see if there was any vote or any meeting held that no one was given notice of.
No, I think there was, and then, not to belabor the point, after you filed, I believe I had filed something with regards to just exploring it, and then the city engineer spoke about it briefly, but it got put back, mostly because we've been in transition with regards to city engineers too as well. Not also, like, we don't have a city engineer to this day. It's been about 7 months. So like the city engineer is the one that manages a lot of this work and takes on the labor. At the time we had Bob Parent, he stepped away, and then we had I'm losing the name right now. Baker, Chris. And then he's kind of stepped away, and right now we're in the process of recruiting. We're fortunate that a lot of the kind of this work was done back then. So it allows us to be at this point now, but like anyone else that's putting things forward, it's going to take a while until the city engineer actually
Okay.
gets
It
hired.
just seemed that it like fell through the cracks and there was no response to anything.
I
It's
appreciate
another summer
that.
coming is the problem, and it's going to start.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I really do.
Beautiful day. It was all day and all night
Yeah,
yesterday.
I was riding. I know.
I might have to hunker down. Hi, I'm Felicia Diffenderfer, and I live at 5 Laurel Street. And can I just will it still work? All right.
You can pick it up if you want.
I don't want to hug it, but anyway. So I've lived at Laurel Street for 5 years, and I want to say the first week I moved in, somebody at the Laurel Park creamed the tree, literally ran the tree over, and that was just the beginning. And then it just has progressively got worse from there. I've seen cars flip over. People play chicken down the street, because if you have cars parked on each side, people be playing chicken and pulling on our driveway. I've had people pull on the right-hand side when I'm trying to turn left and then cuss me out. I have my turn signal and everything. But no, it's a serious problem, I believe. And my sister said, I have a 6-year-old son, and for his safety, I carry him from the bus to I cross over Laurel, I cross over Charles, and then I put him in our yard, because standing there, the school bus is always honking, people be flying through that stop sign, they just accelerate. They don't care. There's so many times that people have almost hit us. I've walked in front of a car before just so they would not hit my son. And that's a problem. And I know it's just small things, big things, the accidents that happen, they're huge, they're big. Like, those cars were destroyed. Fences were destroyed. You know, everything was destroyed. And, like, people might not care, but it's like every other week, I'm plucking dead animals off the street. And if people weren't speeding, I know people don't care about the skunks and the possums and whatever, but if you weren't speeding, you could avoid them, you know? So I just, you know, my son has to see that. And, you know, he cares about those animals. Other people might not, but he does. So it's just, it's a big problem. Let me think. Did I cover it all? Yeah, I believe so. I mean, even we have a sign in front of the house that says what? Like handicap sign, deaf sign? Nobody cares. Like there's, you know, a precautionary sign that, I mean, you would naturally go slow, but people don't. Like, I've talked to the neighbors, everybody has lost their side mirrors. Somebody down the street had a landscaping truck. He was working on our street and got hit. I felt bad for that guy. You know, I feel bad for all of them, but it's just like people that aren't even on our street are being affected by it. And I think that's it. I think we're good. All right.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Wallace. I'm at 33 Laurel Street with my wife Sandy, and we've been there into 5 decades now. And traffic was always heavy. 40 years ago, a traffic study was done with a counter, and there were over 10,000 cars per day traversing Laurel Street. And so we've been fighting this battle for a long time, and apparently losing it. Because while the traffic was very heavy, it was not this dangerous as it is today. People have commented on the multiple accidents and the disregard for basic safety and traffic laws. And the idea that you're going to sign a pledge so that you're going to follow the law, that's a little bit beyond me. Because then if I don't sign the pledge, does that mean I don't become part of that cohort that's going to follow the law? Well, anyways, I'm getting off the topic here. What's happened, besides probably more traffic, because we haven't had a count, but let's assume it's 10,000 plus a day, the traffic speed has gone up. Back in the day, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, many of the houses did not have driveways. Because originally, and the reason the Laurel Street is so wide, I think it's 38 feet, there was a trolley that went down through the middle of the street up until about World War II. And that trolley track going down the middle had to leave room for cars on either side to pass when it was running. So it was a wider street. Over time, many of the people who had been parking on the street, and many of the people who were parking on the street ended up with another car or two. They cut driveways in, and some of them built garages. So the street opened up more. And as the traffic increased, we also had a number of businesses, fast food restaurants, for instance, open up, and it started getting a lot of trash on the street that was thrown out by people just passing by. And I don't think anybody can walk down any of the streets in our neighborhood without finding nip bottles. It used to be lottery tickets, but they don't seem to be the prevalent thing anymore. But nip bottles and other pieces of trash and things out of McDonald's, you know, people buy a drink and out it goes, whether it's finished or not. And every day, virtually every day, I'm out there picking up some kind of trash in front of my street. I picked that up today. There was so much stuff out there, you don't even hear what kind of junk was out there. But I do that, and I do my neighbors on either side. And because of this trash, and especially certain places like Charles Street, which is a horror. The impression I think that people get as they come down the streets is that this neighborhood doesn't care. That the people aren't taking care of their yards, they're taking care of their streets, because the first thing you see is the tree belt before you even see the houses, whether they're nice or not. And most of them are pretty nice. People do have some pride in taking care of their houses. And there's been an improvement over the years. But that tree belt and the gutter, if you will, is a mess. And it's always a mess. You know? So there's been no enforcement of these basic codes. I've talked to the mayor's office. I've walked around the neighborhood with past mayors. I've walked around with the aide to the mayor, the present mayor. And, we made notes of different things. Been out there with Dave, and I've called the police department. I used to call the police department because 40 years ago an ordinance was passed that you had to park with all four wheels on the pavement. Because when you start parking up on the tree belt, it ruins the tree belt. It ruins the look of the community. And there's been a program for almost, I think this is the 10th year, where they've been planting trees free of charge in people's yards and on the tree belt. And the canopy on of the trees is starting to look nice over the last few years, and it's taken a long time. Because at one time we had a neighbor who said at one time when he moved in, probably 80 years ago, it was a whole canopy that covered the entire street. Well, that's the idea that going back to. But when we have problems that are of visual nature and that it encourages people to speed because, well, this is not that great a neighborhood, they won't care. They don't care about their neighbors. They don't care about their neighborhood. Well, we don't care about them. So it's a free-for-all. And cars have gotten more powerful than they ever were. They're very easy to drive, fast. And now you have other things like, I think somebody talking about motorcyclists doing wheelies down the street. I've seen that. And you've got illegal vehicles going down there. These four-wheel open things. They're not designed to be on the street, but they're there. So one question I have is, where is the enforcement? Where is the enforcement? When I've called and talked to the chief of police, and sometimes I get some kind of response, but many times I have to call 3-4 times before something occurs. And it may be that you have to put a policeman on a beat out there or in a car monitoring all of these things and giving out substantial tickets of substantial cost. I don't know what the fines are related to speeding and where they fall in, because luckily I haven't been tagged. But what I do is I make sure I'm doing what's now, it's supposed to be 25 miles an hour, isn't it? Everywhere other than a state road in Holyoke. That's not posted most places. But I'll do 20 or 25, and I don't care if there's a line of cars behind me. I'll shade towards the middle so nobody's going to pass me. All right? And once in a while I even have people try to pass me, and but if everybody in the neighborhood was doing the speed limit or less, that does calm the traffic a bit. All right? There's only so much chances that they're going to take. When they turn in from Northampton Street and look down Laurel Street, they see this wide open, straight drag strip. I signed the petition somewhat reluctantly because I don't know if the speed bumps are going to do the job. One thing I don't like about the speed bumps, like on Lawler Street and also up at the top of the hill near Memorial on Westfield, is that you have to have these big yellow signs there warning you there's a speed bump ahead and then there's a speed bump right here. All right? Well, Laurel Street is a pretty street because it doesn't have a lot of things that block off your view of the houses on the street. There's only a couple of places that even have fences out front. Most of them don't have fences out front. You can see the lawn. It's a nice looking street. The trees are growing up. And when you start breaking up the street, it's a negative. And I think that degrades the look of the street. I think the fact that it's a perfectly straight street is a curse. If there was some way, and actually probably 25 years ago, we had an outfit that came in and attempted to show, and they were successful in it, by blocking off areas, kind of making islands. They made one at the park that extended out into the road. So it took it from 38 feet down to probably 24 feet. So it was an island. So people saw that. They made it out of cones and barriers, but they had to slow down and to go around that. And then it widened up again. And then it did the same thing farther down the street. And that calmed the traffic. Because when you turn in there and visually you see, well, It's not wide open anymore. It's not just that you're gonna go over a bump and be inconvenienced or be uncomfortable. It's a visual clue that this isn't a highway anymore. So, looking at enforcement, get some police officers down there and start handing out some tickets. And if a neighborhood resident gets tagged, well, shame on them. Right? The speed bumps, I'm gonna tell you, I had to go to Westfield today for a funeral. And on the way back, I came up Westfield Street there, and as I got to those two big raised crosswalks, I followed somebody through that was doing 37 miles an hour. I did too, just for the experience of, is it going to inconvenience me? Am I going to say, gee, I'm never going to do that again? It was not a big deal. It was not a big deal to go over that hump. It was just ba-boom. No. The other thing that might be happening too is if we put 3 speed bumps on Laurel Street, it'll be like a skateboard park for some people on motorcycles or cars that want to catch some air. You know, we don't want it to look like Steve McQueen in that movie Bullet when he...
I'm gonna tell you, I'm a motorcycle rider. I am not going over the speed bump. You're gonna destroy my motorcycle. We're not doing that. Like, yeah, and people that actually invest good money into their cars, they won't go over a speed bump either. That is they hate speed bumps. But like, to get to your point, yes, thank you all again for coming. But to get to the point that the street is heavily utilized for traffic for a variety of many things, right? I myself have also been not waking up. I was playing PlayStation one day and I heard the crash where the car flipped on the other side of Laurel Street and it sounded like a bomb. I was like, what the hell happened? I got out, I went outside and I seen it and it was crazy, right? The car was flipped over. Fortunately, nobody got hurt, but the guy that got into the accident I kind of felt bad for him because he just ruined his car, someone else's car, and then someone else's car on top. And I know what his life is going to be for the next 5 to 6 years. So like, I walk my dog. I have my 2 daughters. I bring them to the park. And it scares me to bring them to the park because my daughter that's 4 years old is autistic and she runs off whenever she wants. So usually I have them play inside the fountain because inside the fountain for me is a safe space because it gives me a chance to run off if they decide to run off. Speed bumps can be the solution. It cannot be the solution, or it may not be the solution. But I think that the fact that you guys are all here and looking for some form of solution is a step in a direction where it's forcing our hand to make sure that there is something that happens, right?
Well, do the math on this one, though. If there's 10,000 plus cars and there's 3 speed bumps, every time a car goes over that speed bump, even at a moderate speed, you hear that car hit that speed bump, suspension compress, and open up again, and so you got this ba-bump. So you're going to have...
Yeah, you're going to hear that.
That's going to be 30,000 ba-bump, 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 all day long.
So the part where it comes down to it is we're never going to find a spot where everyone's going to be happy, right?
Well, it's not
we got to find a spot where the community feels well. But like you said, it's a pledge. Just like you said about the pledge, though, it's perceptionally people want to or they don't, right?
Right.
So what would be the difference with the law or the pledge?
Yeah, but no one is taking those people who are breaking the law excessively here.
I understand that.
Mr. Chair.
I understand that.
It's too big a percentage.
I understand that. That is an issue that we are attempting to take care of with regards to the traffic squad, and with regards to several orders that I filed, as well as that Councilor Givner has filed as well. The traffic squad, by ordinance, there should be 5 officers working the beat on traffic specifically. Right now, because of the way our city has been structured for the last however long, they're not actually operating in that fashion right now. So for some of us, it is a stress to try to get that up and going again. But with time, I think that hopefully if we can all get on the same page as counselors and push the same issues down, then we can tackle some of these larger issues with enforcement. The enforcement issue is a larger issue across the city, not just in police. It's also with the city departments too as well. Like you said, if you go down Charles Street, it looks like a mess all the time to me. And who's picking up the leaves over there? Who's picking up all the trash?
Well, who's throwing the trash?
Okay, Mr. Chair?
But
Mr. Chair?
yes, Councilor Bartley, go
Yeah,
ahead.
can we just not get into debate? I know,
No.
no, I know you're not, but I just want to hear from the public, and so they can move on, and then we can close it, and then we can debate it ourselves.
We're on it. Let's go.
So thanks, Rick.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else? We're open. Anybody online too as well, feel free. If
You had a couple letters. Rick, you gotta go.
yeah, you got to go to the mic.
I talked to someone in the chief's office a year ago, asking to, be connected to whoever's in charge of traffic. Well, we don't have anybody in charge of traffic. What the hell's the matter?
What was that?
What is the matter here with a department that doesn't have anybody in charge of traffic?
I don't disagree with you 110%. I would say that because that is a different topic, we would have to file another order to bring in, and it's not a me thing. It's not a me thing. I'm just following the way the rules are with here. The topics that we have right now for the public hearing are the speed bumps on Laurel Street. With regards to the traffic and police and how they enforce things, that's a separate topic, which we would have to kind of go through the motions and do the same thing that we did for this particular meeting too as well. And I apologize that it sounds like a cop-out, but at the end of the day, that's the system that we have in place with regards to how we do open meeting laws.
I understand.
I'm sorry.
Don't agree with you.
I don't either. I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else?
Mr. Chair, we do have a couple hands on Zoom.
Okay. Who do we, I don't see any hands here. Can you tell me who? Attendees. Okay. Okay. I see Matthew and Vanessa.
I've unmuted Francisco.
Okay. Francisco.
Am I okay?
Yes. Name and
Okay.
address.
So, yes, my name is Francisco. I live at 34 Laurel Street. My house was actually the one from last summer that had that car flip over.
Okay.
I remember that morning so vividly, and it was so scary, like you said, Chairman, that it sounded like a bomb going off in my front yard, and thankfully no one else got hurt. Thankfully, my tenant that lives upstairs didn't have their car parked out front because their car would have been hit as well. I am a homeowner, and I moved here in 2019. Excuse me, I just had a cough. I moved here in 2019, and I've seen 3 bad accidents like that. I've had 3 different tenants live here, and each one of them has had their car hit and clipped. 2 lost their driver's side rear view mirror. So I'm 100% want to back the speed bump petition. It was one of the first things I thought of when I moved here, because I am a family person. I have a significant other who has children, and I tell them not to play in the front yard at all. When we walk on the sidewalk, I say to stay close to the house side of the sidewalk. And I always tell them to play in the backyard. I have family that comes over. Everyone's got to stay mostly in the backyard because I'm afraid a car is going to fly up and hit somebody. I would much rather hear a speed bump, a car hitting the suspension of the speed bump, and then have someone lose a life or have somebody continuously fix their car. I tell every tenant that comes in just to be careful. and it's scary. It's I don't even know what to say because it's beyond me that this hasn't been thought of. Maybe even a stop sign as well. At the end of Laurel where it meets Willow at the fork. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe that would slow some things down, including a speed bump and a stop sign. I don't care what it takes. Just to get people to slow down would be great. So yeah, and then just hearing people zip through the middle of the night, that accident from the summer that flipped over, it woke me up. It was early in the morning. Thank God no one was around, and thank God no one else got hurt, or no one got hurt. But yeah, that's it. I'm 100% back that, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Maggie? Or Matthew? I'm sorry, Matthew and Vanessa? Yes.
Oh, hello. I'm Matthew Bell. My wife is Vanessa Vina. We live at 29 Laurel Street. We're Rick and Sandy's next door neighbors.
Okay.
I think you've already heard how concerning it is. We've all heard accidents. The one that sticks out of my mind is a truck getting flipped over, and the man who was in the driver's seat was trapped in it until someone could come and break him out so he could climb out of his truck. But from day to day, we're all on high alert for the sound of an accident. I've recently had to park a car on the street, and I come home every day just waiting to see that it's been hit. We don't let our children, I have 2 children, we don't let them in the front yard. It's a very high stress situation on Laurel Street to know that at any moment a car's about to hit another car. So I understand that there are unintended consequences to putting in some kind of diversion or trying to get people to avoid our street. And I hope that all of those things will be considered. But right now our street does not feel safe. And when I say it doesn't feel safe, it's not safe. And I hope that all of the unintended things will be considered at the same time, because people will just avoid it. But they won't follow signs, and they won't follow pledges. They have to be stopped. And very often, the traffic on our street is outright offensive. It feels, as Rick said, disrespectful to our community. And I am out there all the time kind of raising my hands up in the air, like, what are you doing? And then also realizing I shouldn't do that, because what if they come back? It's a very unsafe situation in what should be and could be just the most beautiful street. It's a really amazing neighborhood. We love our neighbors. But there's this part of our neighborhood we can't enjoy. And so I'm hoping that the town will do as much as possible to fix it. That's it.
Thank you, Matthew. Maggie Cross?
Hey, y'all, can you hear me?
Yes. Just name and address.
Oh, yeah. My name is Maggie Kraus. I live at 44 Laurel Street. I've lived here for about 2 years. I just feel compelled to say thank you to the folks who have put the petition together, and I have to say that I have not signed the petition, not because I don't believe wholeheartedly that this should happen, but I might have just missed whoever was collecting signatures. So if there was really only one person on the block who didn't sign it, it might have been me, and I just wanted to make it known that I completely support putting some kind of measure in place, because the traffic is out of control. I too remember last summer when, there was an accident that flipped the car over. I woke up to the sound of the car flipping over. It was kind of a surreal situation. And I've also been struck by how many people are, in person and online talking about, being parents of children. And I never see a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and now I feel like I know why, because they're all in their backyards. But I just brought a newborn home. He's 12 days old, and I would like to imagine a world where we don't have to be so afraid of enjoying the company of our neighbors on Laurel Street. And if there's anything that can be done, even if it's not the perfect solution, I would be really happy to see that some progress is being made. So thank you all, for everyone, for speaking and for being here on the meeting.
Thank you, Maggie. Anybody else online? Anybody else in person?
Well, I guess I better say something. I've heard from everybody down at the other end of Laurel Street.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
at 5153 Laurel Street. I've been there 22 years. And I applaud everybody who's come up here and spoken, especially Melissa for getting this going.
1 second. Name and address.
Oh,
Name,
Harry
because you
Bissell.
already said it. Address.
Harry Bissell,
Oh, thank you.
51 Laurel Street. I don't have to say the whole thing all over again, do I? I just want to encourage you to, when you make these speed bumps, make them about this high. That's all I got to say. I don't want to kill it because everybody said everything I was going to say anyhow.
I appreciate that. I'm not sure if we have anybody else. Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Sure, has everyone said what they want to say? Okay, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
Second. Aye.
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 Okay.
Under discussion?
Yeah, well, you want me to go first?
You can go first, Council Bartley, because it's your ward.
No, it's the word I represent. I don't use a personal pronoun with it. But yeah, so just the way what I do. Okay, so I took a lot of notes, and some of it I'm very familiar with. Some of it I'm going to say that we all realize that you live on a very busy street. Okay, so you know you bought homes on a busy street. Okay, you knew that before you moved in there, right? So what's Rick, public meeting's over. You had your chance. Sorry.
Hey, Dave.
So it's a busy street, and we get it, and we want to do something about it. I'm grateful to the city engineer because I wasn't even sure we could do that with a street that wide and a street with that volume of traffic, but the engineer seems to indicate that we can. So to me, that's a positive thing. And the vast majority, I think there is one person, and the gentleman lives on Brown Avenue, who was anti the speed humps, but he's on Brown Ave, so it's kind of a, I read what he wrote, and I respect it. But I think the speed humps probably in this case makes sense. You're gonna find out that there's mainly good with it, but there are some negatives with it as well. And it's the placement of it that really becomes critical, and that's where you have to have the professional engineer really guide us on that. As the chair pointed out, we've been without a professional engineer on a full-time basis for going on 7 months since Chris Baker moved back to HAMP. So having a temporary is not as good as having a full-time person, because the other full-time engineers would always come around with me throughout the ward and did it numerous times, and we could point out well, it was all men, but we could point out to them what we needed. Now we're in a holding pattern, so it's a little frustrating. In terms of the delay, most of that's just one of those things where I don't think it's anybody's fault, really. It's just one of those things. So, but persistence pays off. You got a hold of me, we refiled it, and then here we are. You got it done. So that's the good news, and you got the whole neighborhood riled up. So that's another. No, that's good. That's positive. I'm not being a wise guy. I think that's positive. Relative to some of the questions, I'll be pretty brief, Mr. Chair, because I want to. The speed limit throughout the city is 25 miles unless otherwise posted. Another point is off topic. There are plenty of trees available should you be so desire to have a tree planted in your yard or in your tree belt. They are free because of the area which you live, and we've got some wonderful people from Mass DCR that are always around, driving around looking, so you can keep that in mind as well, and if you need contact intel, I have that. I would never use self-help, as one speaker said. I wouldn't try to drive serpentine in the road, or drive slowly in the road, or drive in the middle of the road. You're really you're risking not only their lives, you're risking your life, because there is just insanity driving around. So I wouldn't never do that. If you want to be smart, just pull over and let them go. All right. So don't pretend that you're the police, because that's going to lead to something even worse. The issues that were raised earlier, I've already gone ahead and I've already gone ahead and written 4 different orders all relative to Charles Brown, the three-way stop, and then the traffic bureau. I've added Mr. Rivera and Mr. Sullivan because they're both at-large counselors. I'm sure they'll want to sign on with me, and we'll have these conversations. Let me just see here. One of the things I tried to do very much when I first got in office, which is now I'm in my 7th term, is the number of signs we have around the ward. It was unbelievable. If you ever want to see a sign pollution, you can go off at the old first UMass exit, which is 19. Now it's a big rotary around the Calvin Coolidge. There's got to be no less than 60 signs all over the place around there. Parking. It's embarrassing, but that's the Commonwealth of Mass for you. As you heard one prior speaker say, signs rarely do anything other than directional signs to like one ways or how many miles we have to go. Otherwise, people ignore signs. The pledge, I think some prior speakers said is about as good as I can say it. I kind of like their comments relative to the pledge, but that's a me problem. Then the process, the way this goes is that because we've done this before, we've had success on this, and I think they work out very well on Laurel Street. I think they work out very well on South Elm Street, and I think they have the intended effect. And I think they've worked out well on Bemis Road in Ward 7. So I think they're gonna work out pretty good on Laurel. It's a question of placement and quantity. So I don't know what's best. When the plows come down the street, you're gonna hear them, but I think you hear them anyhow. And by the way, if you don't hear all the train horns going all the time now, if that doesn't wake you up, then I don't think the plows are gonna wake you up. In terms of parking and off the street, I completely understand what Rick said because that was a trolley station well before our time, Rick, I think. But it was for trolleys for sure, and it's got a great history. Laurel Street, Laurel Pure started there, for crying out loud, years ago. You must have seen their water trucks. So Laurel Street is a very famous street in the city of Holyoke. It's a lovely street, and we want to keep it that way to the best of our ability. I heard what everybody said about children and playing in the front yard. That's probably a good idea anyhow, even if you're on a one-way street, like Dexter. I mean, I just think in this day and age, you just got to keep kids in the backyard. But I think what we're going to do here is we're going to approve this. We're going to recommend that it goes forward to full city council. Then the next step, well, what's the next step? Well, the next step is you got to get the money for it. And so I don't think this is a heavy ticket item. I think there are various resources of money in the city that we have. We just filed an order, and we got the results of where all the various sums are in the city, and I think we're going to be able to do it. But we have to file a separate order now to have the mayor finance it. And that's the way the system works. That's really the way the system works. So the mayor has to appropriate the money, and then we would vote to authorize it. So after we send this to City Council next week, I'm going to ask each of you to consider contacting the mayor's office relative to funding this project. One last thing. My friend Bill made a great point, and I'm not saying names because we don't say names here. We're not supposed to anyhow. But it is highly unusual to have parallel streets running one way in the same direction. That is highly unusual. I've had residents come to me before. At one point I had 55 straight months of meetings. It's just, I've had it many times. It's just, if you want to get unelected, go ahead and try to switch that, because it's going to be, I'm just being very frank with you, it's in there now. I just don't see any way to turn that back around without getting strung up on a pole out there. So I don't see it, but I agree with Bill completely. Bill, we've discussed this in the past. It's a highly unusual situation, but that happened some time ago, and I don't think there's much that any of us can do. So those are my notes that I took. I heard everything you said, so I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Councilor. And then I guess for me, as a resident that lives if I'm using the right word, parallel, right? Yeah. To Laurel Street, I echo the sentiment of what a lot of you guys have said with regards to the speed. When I first moved into Willow Street, I automatically was like, Laurel Street is wild, right? Because people speed up and down that street. But then, like, not even a week later, I'm like, wow, people speed up and down my street too, and it's crazy. I don't want to point anybody out, but like the people that I see speeding up the streets, it's like, wow. So I got to the point of thinking, what are the solutions other than speed bumps? Because when I first moved in, I did reach out to Councilor Bartley at the time about the speed bumps, and he didn't tell me no, but he just told me that, like, understand that that's a larger task, right? If when you ask for the speed bumps. So then I was asking around, and what Mr. Moriarty and what Councilor Bartley referenced about the two streets on this, I think it's Glen and View, that came up for me too as well. I don't mind filing the order to change it. To me, it's not. If I don't get reelected, it is what it is, or if it's based on that. But that I don't represent just that ward. I got other places that I can get elected through too. So if you need me to file it, I'll file it and I'll put it in my name to make it happen, right? Because at the end of the day, I think that when something, and this kind of speaks to the traffic pledge too. I know people think that it's a little earthy, crunchy thing, but understand that the culture that people project onto things, it speaks to what is going to happen in reality. So if you really feel that way around the traffic pledge, trust and believe other people that feel that way around it too as a joke, they're going to take it as a joke. And then the traffic is going to be a joke. So they'll continue to speed on your street, and they'll continue to do things that are funny and don't actually have real teeth. That's why people don't necessarily follow all rules and regulations, right? The other piece I would say is trust that we will continue pushing the issue with the traffic squad and pushing the issue with the police. That's something that I have been pushing for like the last year and a half. And some people have been listening. Some have not to say that they're not, but it goes back to, again, the culture piece of how things have been done in this community for a long time. And when you try to shake things up or do things a little different, not everyone is ready for that yet. So hopefully we'll get to a point where the department, specifically for public safety wise, can apportion at least 2 to 3 officers that are strictly dedicated to just traffic. But again, what I would say is I support the speed bumps, but the piece that I like the most here, because I'm a community organizer at heart, is that you guys are all here, and I get to know all my neighbors. Like, I've seen you guys, but like, I'm glad that you're here in council chambers, because it kind of makes me feel good at the same time. But it also is good because it's community involvement, and you guys are actually sharing your voice with the community overall. I appreciate that. So.
As long as wants to speak, you want to speak, Jenny? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Hi, thank you all for coming here. And I myself am in support, so you will definitely be getting my support. I am not in Ward 3. Is it Ward 3? I am Ward 1, City Councilor for Ward 1. I myself is having this issue. I actually live right on Mosher Street. I've seen the cars flipped over. I've seen my parents' car got totaled. They've gone into our fence. You name it, we've had it as well. I've put in an order last year, I believe, 2 years ago, and Mass DOT told me no. They said that the street is not busy. There's not enough accidents. Where there's a lot of accidents, a lot of people take off before the cops even get there. We'll call and they don't show up. So it's very busy. Like I said, it's very scary. I'm happy you guys are all here. I wish everyone in the wards would do the same thing and show this kind of support. I think it's overall throughout the whole city. That's why Councilor, she did the pledge. I haven't done it. I'm going to be doing the pledge myself. But that's the whole issue. It's an ongoing problem throughout Holyoke. But we need support, and I wish all wards had the support you guys have. So you will definitely be getting my vote.
Thank you, Councilor Jenny Rivera.
So I'll make a motion that we have the city council approve the petition.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4-0. Move forward to the full council for next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Can you just clarify, you said contact the mayor?
Oh, so no. Well, so there's two pieces to it. Yeah, after the vote, you reach out to the mayor, because once we approve it at full council, that means it's approved through us, and all it would have to do is be put into the budget if there's money, or if he has money, he has to find it somewhere. Next Tuesday. Next full council meeting is next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, online or in person. And if you online on the website, you can find it. And if you have cable, on channel 15. It will be. He always updates the email. He took me off the email thread though, but you know what I mean. Like
I had this UMass email and it kept bouncing. So if he gives me a new email, I'll.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'm right.
I'm not a UMass student no more. You're right.
Excuse me, Councilor.
Oh, Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, I had my hand up. But
Oh, well then speak up, bro. I'm over here paying attention.
Hand
to
up, not speak up.
My bad.
To the group, thank you all for coming here. And one thing that's obvious to me now listening to all this is speed bumps or no speed bumps, we have a huge problem with code enforcement. Nothing's with the count that I'm hearing and the problem I'm hearing here, it seems to me that for the most part, these are repeat offenders passing through every day that know this is a shortcut. And the quickest way to stop people that are constantly doing it and going in the same direction all the time, day after day, is through code enforcement, and not give them a broken shock or a missing hubcap when they hit the speed bump, but bite them right in the wallet where it hurts, and that will be a constant reminder for them not to do that, and it will serve as an example to the rest of the people driving through there when they see another car pulled over, doing the same thing, getting a ticket. So I would encourage everyone to continue to call the police department, complain. I will sign on with whatever other orders are appropriate by my fellow counselors here, and I will do the same with the police department to see if we can get more coverage in that area, because that's what will stop people, a good bite in the wallet.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I really appreciate that too. It does make sense, 110%, to make sure that the law enforcement is following up with that too as well, until we get that traffic squad piece getting into place. So with that, we've pretty much moved on, just so you know. We voted it in. It's moved forward to the full council. It'll get voted on Tuesday. Feel free to reach out to the police department to remind them that there are laws to be enforced, right? And then also feel free to reach out to the mayor's office to remind them, or push the envelope with regards to the budget and making sure that this could get paid for this fiscal year if you want to see it now.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make motion to take 3 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So just for case you guys know, we're done with that topic. We've just moved to the third. All right.
Well, you can stay if you want.
Yeah, if you can. I just saw them sitting here. I'm like.
Good night.
Bill, you used to come here more often. I wish you would start coming back. See you, Bill.
Item 3.
Bye, Sandy. Bye, Rick.
Item 3 was filed by Councilor McGee. Order that an ordinance be established to address the 2/3 majority vote of the body for the votes. Legal, please provide language necessary for review. We have legal language, I believe. Here it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So here we have both copies of the legal language that we requested last time. Attorney Bissonnette, are you here with us for this particular one or no?
For it all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I mean, if you could run through it real quick, just as a quick summary, just for the public and for some of the people that are online.
Be glad to. I think what you have in front of you are two different versions of the same, essentially the same document. Depending on which one you choose to move forward, if any, that would become the rule with respect to any ordinances that were considered by the council. One of them is for 2/3 of the full council. One of them is for 2/3 of those present. It'd be up to your council to determine which one you move forward.
And these are only for specific matters, right? These are not for the really, I'm sorry. It's just, these are for just like the simple majority stuff, right? Not for the more complicated matters that we vote on.
Well, unless it's a zoning question or something else that's covered by state law, this would be solely for the city of Holyoke rules.
Okay.
So financial orders that on the first night need 2/3. Ordinances that need 2/3 to be enacted and ordained, that would apply here.
All right. Thank you. I mean, we've had significant discussions on this for quite some time now, but I'll entertain anything else that any other counselors want to add. And I see first Counselor Vacant's hand held up in the chat here. So, Counselor Vacant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to speak in favor of the legal version that is speaking of 2/3 of the entire body. And also, I would ask for consideration by the committee to amend the language just to clarify relative to the Mass General laws that we would be following anything required rather than saying provided for, which could be maybe a little bit vague. But I'll defer to Counselor Bartley for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Bartley?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna make a couple motions to amend. At least I'll look at the one with the entire body. So, my first motion, right here it says unless otherwise provided for by MGL or the charter. That's too loose. So I said unless mandated by Mass General laws or the Holyoke Charter. So I want to get that. That's
I'll second that.
That's my first motion, and then my second motion.
On both forms, right?
I'll
right now, he's only speaking to the form where it says entire body.
I'm only speaking to the form of the entire body because that's the only one I'm going to vote for. So, relative to it says shall be deemed passed if 2/3 of the entire body vote in the measure, vote for the measure. So we've had city council presidents in the past. We've had senior members in the past kind of play around with that language. So I would like to have the ordinance just define what the entire body is. I mean, we know what it is. So I'd like to have another section of the ordinance, whether it be a section 2A or whatever, say under definitions, entire body shall mean the 13 elected members of the Holyoke City Council. So those are my two amendments.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those amendments pass to the second document with regards to the ordinance. So I would just entertain a motion to take up the votes for either or. I know where I'm gonna vote. You guys know where you're gonna vote. I'd rather not waste any time with regards to how we're gonna do this. So I'll entertain a motion to take up the vote for whichever one you want to go with first.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to improve the entire body one, as amended.
Do I hear a second?
I seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye. We have to do roll call.
I'm going to do roll call. Okay. And then roll call vote. Counselor Vacant?
Yes?
Counselor Bartley?
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera?
No.
Counselor Israel Rivera? No. That doesn't pass.
Well, you can still send
So,
it forward
Mr.
without recommendation.
Okay, so then we'll send it forward without recommendation, and I that's kind of what I want to do for both of them, to be honest, because I don't think the other one's going to pass either. So, and then entertain a motion. Well, I motion that the first language gets approved and gets sent forward to the full council.
Mr.
Counselor Vacant, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to offer the same amendment on the other legal form relative to unless mandated by state law.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Roll call vote. Counselor Bartley?
Yes.
Counselor Vacant?
Yes.
Counselor Rivera, Jenny?
Yes.
And Counselor Israel Rivera, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then motion to approve this language and move it to the full body. And this is the language with regards to of those members being present and voting to vote in favor of the measure.
Just under discussion?
Yes. Well, first I got to get a second.
Well, Jenny, you want a second? Want a second? Yeah. Under discussion?
Yes.
I guess I heard what my two esteemed colleagues have said on a vote, but I really haven't heard a rationale because you've got a potential ordinance here. We all know this is a body of 13, and to say that the full 13 should not be recognized as the body politic relative to the 2/3, to me is really contrary to I think the public interest, frankly. So we have 13 of us, and now what others are saying, it seems to me, Mr. Chair, is that, well, we might have 13, but whoever shows up really is the 2/3 of that number. And if we want to have a lesser number than 2/3, which in this case would be 9 with 13, if only 10 show up, then we don't need 9 votes. And there's still a quorum. If only 8 show up, which it's still a quorum, we only need 5 votes. And I'm not really sure that the city council, as currently constituted, has that kind of, should have that kind of the way the city council is set up with 13 of us, I think we should respect that number, and 2/3 should always be of the 13. As opposed to 2/3 of members present, I think you're going into an unknown area where I think it's, like I said, contrary to what the charter is set up, contrary to how we're constituted. I just don't think it's in the best interest of the public. 2/3 votes, Mr. Chair, are meant to really have everyone understand just the importance of the particular vote. Not many things are 2/3. Ordinance changes are 2/3. Financial transfers are 2/3. So there aren't a whole lot of things that require 2/3 vote. There's a lot of significance and gravitas to that. So that's why I'm going to support it of the full membership, because that's how it's always been ruled, and it should have been always ruled that way. And I think putting it in ordinance form strengthens 8K. Now, if this doesn't pass, 8K is the way it's going to be in our rules, and it's still going to be 2/3. And so I'm okay with that. But Councilor McGee thought it best to put it in ordinance form, and so I'm supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Councilor Vacant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I won't repeat what Counselor Bartley has said, but I would note that whenever we've been in the 2/3 rule, there's always been the number 9 that has been brought up as the votes needed to cause passage. We had only one in all the time I've been on the council exception to that. So I think, and I can't be totally in Counselor McGee's mind, but the way that he wrote the order was basically to codify the rules. So because of that, I'm supporting the version that includes the entire body in the count, which is what gives us the 9. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I guess I'll opine as to why I'm voting with regards to of the body present, right? Of the people that are present. I don't recall that we've always had 13 counselors. I think there were more counselors before. And when we eliminated a couple counselors, 2/3, the number changed. Did it not?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it changed. It wasn't. This is not the same way it's been for however long. The numbers have not always been this way. The number 9 is not historically the number for 2/3 vote, but we still stay with 2/3 present, or 2/3 in general. So there's a reason why we stay with a percentage, right? So that way, hopefully, we're still at the same level that we were if a number shrinks or if it goes down. But if we're saying, Linda, I'm sorry, but I'll give you a second. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay.
But if we're saying that are people that are whether they're present or not, that's not the same in a sense. It's not the same. It kind of takes away the argument of the 2/3 away, because although they are elected and they are a member of the body, they're not present. They're not here to take a vote. And if you're not here to take a vote, then what does that mean? What does that mean for you to engage and to actually be a part of what we're deciding? More than likely, and I'm going to say this on my 2 years, right? Maybe you guys could speak more, but historically, you haven't had that many people missing in an important meeting, especially when it comes down to an important vote. And to be honest, if you're not present in that meeting, the vote might not sway in the way you might think it to be. So it might behoove you to actually be present in the meeting so that you can have your vote. Because if you're not present, technically that's already a no vote, regardless. It's against whatever the project is gonna be, whether we're all in favor of it or whether we're all not in favor of it. The person that is not present is gonna throw off the numbers of the voting. I don't understand how that, like, for me, make it make sense that 13 people are counselors, right? But only 10 are present, and you're gonna take the 2 other people's no votes even though they're not here. I don't understand how that works. Like, and that actually hasn't happened on many occasions. It has only happened on the rare occasion where you have one person missing because of a dire circumstance, more than likely. So they're gonna get penalized because of something that's crazy, or I don't want to say no outlandish stuff, but something that happened in their life. Not only do they get penalized, but the public gets penalized in a sense, because you get a person that would be making possibly either an opinion on something or taking a vote. They don't get to do that because they're not there and they're not present. And I'm gonna assume that they're not there and they're not present because there is something really, really important happening that they can't be there. I'm not playing or leading with the ideology of people using gamesmanship for the system. Not to say that I'm naive and saying that people don't use gamesmanship, but that's not how city government should lead when it's moving forward. It should be leading its best foot forward for the people as best as they can. Regardless, there's gonna be people that play the game, no matter what you do. But yeah, that's why I'm voting in the direction that I'm voting. But go ahead, Councilor Vacant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because you made the comment about the 9, I wish to clarify that. So the number 9 has been the number since we reduced the size of the council. Prior to that, it was whatever total of the body, the entire body was, 2/3 of that. So in terms of being consistent, that was my reference to 9 with the current body. To your other point that you made, your argument is that if a person is absent, they shouldn't be penalized and considered a no vote. And my position on this is that if it is an important vote, then it needs to be representative of the entire body. And for one person to be able to be absent, to then change the number 9 to only 8 in close votes would accomplish that, which is the whole reason why we have the 2/3 rule, is so that we are coming to a greater degree of agreement on important votes than a simple majority. And I would further note that when it comes to a majority of our city council, you can't say that the majority is achieved when you have a vote that is less than considering the entire majority. So for a majority vote, we all agree that in our rules, you need 7. And so to me, it's just consistent that on a 2/3 vote, you would then need the 9 as we're currently structured. So thank you for letting me clarify.
No worries. And I think to speak to kind of speak to that real quick is the 2/3 stays the same, whether the number changes, but the percentage base of where you're getting of the vote, it still stays 2/3. It's not the majority of the people that are on the council, but it becomes the people that are present, that are actually there physically, can take the vote. But Councilor Sullivan, go ahead.
Yeah, just what gets me on this is it only takes 7 people present. It isn't about one person missing. It only takes 7 to have a quorum to have the meeting. Technically, you could pass a 2/3 vote on something very, very important with just 5 people.
Right.
Right. So for me, that's a deal killer right there, the way this is worded.
So real quick, and just to, if there's only 7 people that show up, then how do you get to the 9?
Well, you don't get to 9.
You don't. It wouldn't pass. That's how.
But,
okay.
But having said that, if we're doing it by a simple,
so there's no 2/3 if there's 7
majority
people.
of those present, right? You could pass something with only 5 votes.
Yes, I hear that. I totally hear that.
I will not vote for something that would allow that to happen.
Oh, you want a motion to move these both forward?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll just move. I'll make a motion that both these go forward as not recommended by the council, by the committee.
As amended.
Second.
Second.
Yeah, these are both going forward as amended, right?
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote. Councilor Vacant.
Yes.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
And Councilor Israel Rivera.
And Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to take out of order agenda item 8, please.
Thank you. Do I hear? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda item 8 was filed by Councilor Sullivan. Order that we ban no, that's not it. Order that the vacant building fee be adjusted to take into the account the size of the building. Currently, a flat fee is assessed, which is not reflective of the burden to the city and its taxpayers. Councilor Sullivan, so you could break down more on this topic.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for taking it out of order also. The reason I filed this order is really threefold. First of all, we have a disparity in the administration of this the way it's set up now with the vacant building fee. If there's a vacant building, a commercial building of 2,000 square feet, okay, so say the size of a Dunkin' Donuts, right? That seems to be a good topic lately. But the size of a Dunkin' Donuts, the vacant building fee is $3,000. If you have the Empire State Building empty, sitting here, the fee is the same, $3,000. So regardless of the size and the potential of the building, it's the same flat fee. So that's the number one reason. The second reason is from an economic development point of view, it is crippling economic development in this city. We've had this green rush with the cannabis industry, and a lot of out-of-town speculators have come in, and there are buildings sitting vacant now for years, some of them where they've actually driven out businesses that have employed people in Holyoke. They've moved somewhere else. They've taken their jobs somewhere else. And now these hundreds of thousands of square feet of buildings are sitting vacant and not available. And when you look at the owners, they're in California, Newton, New Jersey, all over the place. And they are paying their property tax in most cases, and that's because the properties are so undervalued. Now, if we switch this to a square foot basis, it would be much more painful for them than to just sit there and ignore the problem and block other people that are looking to come to our community to bring business here, to bring jobs here, and increase our tax base, and blocking them out. The cost to the city for these larger buildings far outweighs the $3,000 that they currently pay. Not only what I just mentioned in economic development, but there's a cost in the blight problems, the health problems. Some of these buildings now are without fire protection, they're without water, they're without electricity. All right, so it's gonna be a burden. We've seen buildings collapse. This is going on currently with a building on Commercial Street, where now bricks are falling into the parking lot for the water department, where the employees park the cars. All right, and eventually, anyways, there's going to be another huge cost to the city with the taking of the building, and then the eventual demolition of something that's allowed to continue this way. So that's why I've put this forward. I had a lengthy conversation with the new director of the Board of Health and Jim Rivers, and he likes the concept. He'd like a little more time to study it and go over it with some of the other department heads, the building department and the rest of the city officials. And I just wanted to bring this piece of it forward as to why, get the conversation started, and also at the same time to hear something from the Chamber of Commerce and others who might have, see some problems, some problematic, there are some other issues for other people that we ought to consider. So I put that forward and would ask that we table it. Haven't had this discussion for 30 days is the time that the Board of Health has asked to put their thoughts together on it, and it'll give me time to contact the Chamber and probably the Holyoke taxpayers as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Councilor Vacant? Councilor Vacant, are you here? Because I see your hand raised.
Your hand's up. Is she muted?
Sorry, I had muted myself, so I had to unmute.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I just want to say I think this is a really good order, and I look forward to the feedback from the various departments, and I thank Councilor Sullivan for bringing it forth. And if there are no other people who wish to comment on committee, I'll make the motion to table, but not until everybody's ready.
Oh, no, I want to comment.
Okay, Councilor Bartley.
Just through the chair to Mike, and these may or may not be rhetorical, Mike, but one is I would like to see some kind of analysis by other communities to have a vacant building fee based upon square footage, and how do you do that? Second off, I certainly would want to see the results and prove that this maybe spurs economic development. I'd want to see some kind of analysis of that. And third, what about partial vacancy? For example, the Holyoke Mall. What if Sears or one of their huge spaces is vacant for, I don't know, 1 month, 6 months, a year? Should they not be charged a vacancy fee? For part, these are just rhetorical. So I'm just saying, I hear the argument that, and then you look at Kmart Plaza. Clearly, they don't care about paying the vacant $3,000 for the last 40-something years. They don't care because it's just the cost of doing business. But how do you come up with a scheme to get them to come to the table without killing somebody else? And why, why does a little house have to have a vacancy fee for $550 or something, like when they're in for example, when they're in an estate mess? I mean, why does that have to happen? So I'd like to have kind of a universal thing, discussion about this. So that's all. Otherwise, hey, I'll happily move the table for now.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. Anyone else?
Motion to table.
Second?
For 30 days to hear.
Yes, for 30 days to hear back the report.
Second.
Hold on a second. Now, we can see.
I'm offering an amendment, friendly.
This is a point of order, because this is
Go ahead,
actually a
Bartley.
point of order.
Go ahead, Bartley. Go ahead.
This is a real one, not like fake one.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the way we do it at this level is that the chair sets the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I can't say, we consider to have the chair take it up within 30 days. At the full city council, yeah, we put on deadlines for department heads and all that, and I think that's reasonable. But I would ask, so I'm being somewhat facetious, obviously, right? But I would like to say is kind of have the chair, to the best of his ability, take it up within 30 days or so. That would be my.
I appreciate.
Yeah, that would be my, because that's part of our tradition of city council. That's kind of tradition how we do this.
I appreciate that, Councilor Bartley. Fortunately, Councilor Sullivan spoke to me before this and gave me a heads up, so I was able to talk to Jeff and maybe map that out. And I told him exactly the same thing. If we could do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. No, and thank you for that.
A motion table.
And then I heard a second. All in favor? Roll call vote. Councilor Vacant?
Yes.
Councilor Bartley?
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
And then Councilor Israel Rivera? Yes.
All right. Good.
Item is tabled. And thank you again for filing the order.
And Mr. Chair, did you say you wanted to package 4, 5, and 6?
Yeah, we could package 4, 5, and 6, and because
what are they going to do?
I don't actually have much. I don't have language for 5. I don't have language for 6. 6. Well, I was asked to table for the next meeting to give them some time because they were actually working on some stuff and they're going to be able to report out then.
Okay, so
I
we
can
just leave 6 on the table, so you don't have to take that up. Then number 4, I'll make a motion to take 4. Are we just tabling that for now because we don't have?
I would say table that for now too as well because there is some clarification that needs to be made.
For Schedule C, right?
Yeah.
And how it impacts others.
And how it impacts others. And we might not have to actually act on that because they might be within the ranges to be able to do the raise. But I'm verifying that right now.
All right. And then I did want to comment on 5. So I'll make a motion that we table items, that we suspend the rules, table items 4 and 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote. Councilor Vacant?
Yes.
Councilor Bartley?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
And Councilor Israel Rivera, yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion just to take 5 off the table for a brief, ever so brief discussion.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 was filed by Councilor McGee that the DBW Commission return reviewing and setting the sewer rate
Any discussion?
In the city council. Yes, under discussion.
Yeah, at one point, I do confess that I probably would have supported this at a certain stage. At this point, I don't. And the reason I don't is that these are votes that really impact the city at large. And as much as we love the Board of Public Works, I mean, they meet it in the back room at 63 Canal, and unless you're really looking at agendas, really charting it out, the only way you're going to know about a really important vote that affects your pocket is if you go there. And I just think it's a lot of pressure to put on a board. I know they're paid, but they're paid a de minimis sum. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on them for one, but more to the point, it takes a really important vote basically out of the public eye. And that's why I would just, my sense before the meeting tonight was just to give this lead to withdraw, but I will not make that motion because it sounds like you want to get some language to look at, but I don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Aside from that, anyone else?
Motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote. Councilor Vacant.
Yes.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
And Councilor Israel Rivera. Yes.
And you want to take 7 off the table, sir?
Let's do 9 first.
I'll make a motion to take number 9 off the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 9 was filed by Councilor McGee. All ordinance charter references to an assistant superintendent of public works be updated to assistant director of public works. This one, I believe this has already been done. So
Complied with.
Yeah, so I wanted to put it up and make it complied with.
Okay. So this language is, we don't need this?
No, we've already, I think, and
It's
correct me if I'm
already
wrong, Jeff, but I believe we've done this already.
Oh.
Yes.
I'll
This
make a
was
motion.
adopted in March of '22.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that this has been, well, then this should be given lead to withdraw then, right? Because,
Well, it's complied with.
well, okay, I'll make a motion to comply with.
You hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote. Councilor Vacant.
Yes.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
And Councilor Israel Rivera.
I'll make a motion to take number 7 off the table.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Item 7 was filed by Councilor Baldonado Velez. Order that we ban single-use plastic bags, straws, and or food containers. We took this up March 13th, 2024, and I figured to put it on again just to continue the conversation and try to get it out the way, whether we're going to act on it or whether we're not. I think for me is there. And I'm asking this to my seasoned counselors, right, for some help. Is there a way
What
for?
you said, Jenny? He means the old guys.
No.
You hear that, Jenny? Now he's talking like a politician.
So I've been around you for a while now. So I want to make an amendment to this order. Is that too late, or do I have to refile a new order?
You can amend it anytime.
Because here it says, well. Actually, no. I mean, this actually what I wanted to incorporate here is with the cannabis industry as well, but I don't have to because it says order that we ban single-use plastic bags, straws, and or food containers because that can actually incorporate anyone that is giving out any type of single-use bags. Yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, you can, if I may, I mean, certainly you would. If I was going to advise you, and I'm not, but if I was going to advise you, you would probably want to work on draft language with the law department relative to what you want to do offline, then come in and make an amendment to this order. So that's what I would have done if I. So
Perfect.
At this point, I'm ready to make a motion on this thing anyhow, and I'll tell you why in a second.
No, go ahead.
I respectfully, I don't like getting into micro. I understand it's the environment. I get it, and you heard about all the litter. I mean, I walk around. We all walk around. We do our part. Okay, I do my part. You guys do your part. Okay, as far as cleanliness and trash goes, and I think the city's getting better. I agree with the mayor that I think the city's getting better in terms of that. What I don't like about this is, boy, it gets into real micromanagement, and then it also adds an extra burden on top of the Board of Health. to go in and enforce all this stuff on top of all the other things that they're already enforcing. Thirdly, you look at Stop and Shop, and they've basically done away with plastic bags. And now we're going to go hit the bodegas, or we're going to hit the little guys that don't necessarily have the clientele that knows worldly enough to go in and bring in your own multi-use bag. I don't know. I just, and then, you know, straws and food containers. I mean, I think there's an expense to this that on the private sector, and is it going to be a real expense and a burden on the public sector? So unless somebody wants to come back with what you said, Mr. Chair, on a more pointed thing that we can really put our arms around, I think you're just going to have this order floating around in committee ad infinitum. I think this is really a aspirational thing. I think it's great in the sense that we aspire to it, and that we all need to do better in terms of recycling. And look what we're going to do as a city. You know, we're going to at some point get the bins out to everybody for recycling, just like we have for refuse. So the city is doing its bit. I think this really is a step too far. So my motion would be, with respect, to give it leave to withdraw. That's my motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that at this time.
Under this, I guess I would say under discussion still, right? I heard your second, and it's seconded. I think that if this does go to withdraw, I would still come back with another order anyways. No issue. I hear the concern around the stress that this can put on businesses, but I think that the overall cost to the city around the burden that it would add to the public health department would be a cheaper cost rather than what it's adding to us as the trash throughout the community, and us having to find ways to deal with the issues around this trash. And I say this not just because you see plastic bags floating around, but you see nip bottles everywhere. You're seeing now with the cannabis industry, you're seeing the bags, their packaging everywhere as well too. To no fault of the business owner themselves, just they're not telling the people to throw it on the ground, right? But there's a piece of what do we do as a community to hold accountability? All right. We can't come after the person that's throwing it on the ground because we're not there right in front of them every time they do that. But what we can do is kind of like try to mitigate where the source is coming from. And I think that although it's true what Councilor Bartley mentioned, maybe we can try to carve it out where it's trying to get a certain approach just to start in a certain way, and then see how it goes from there. But I've gone to other communities where the plastic ban is in effect. You don't necessarily see the plastic bags flying around like the hay things that you would see in the Western movies back in the days. And I would say that in the flats, and I say that's from my own experience and perspective, and some parts in Ward 3 too, that Charles Street spot, and going up the hill going towards by Kmart Plaza, you end up seeing these spots where it looks sort of like a dump, and it's not necessarily because people are throwing the trash specifically in that area, but it's because trash is being thrown, and when like the wind tunnels and the way the wind blows ends up getting caught up in the same areas. So then what do we do if we're not putting a mechanism in place to prevent that from happening? Then what are we doing to make sure that stays clean then as a city? Because it sounds to me that we're going to have to spend more money to make sure that it stays clean. We have to spend more money, invest more to make sure that we have the mechanisms, the staff, the bins. All of these things are coming up as costs based on things that we see other people putting forth, and it's helping them become profitable. I think that there has to be a place where there's a happy medium. Maybe it's not that we ban all of this, but there's got to be a space where someone is being held accountable for the trash that we're seeing throughout our community, especially when it has the logo of your organization right on the front of it. Like, But again, I thank you for the discussion piece. Anyone else have anything to offer before we go on to the vote?
I have my hand up, Mr. Chair.
All right. No, go ahead. I thought it was still up from when you tabled, when you seconded. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. So I guess I would go back a little bit to the discussion for the speed humps and say that a lot of the things with the littering is really about personal accountability. And if we're talking about people wanting to have pride in their neighborhood and their community, it's really an individual choice every time somebody throws the trash on the street out of their car, which is where a lot of it is coming from in the areas, at least that I've been involved with in Ward 5. And I would note that a lot of the trash is paper trash. And I have read a little bit about plastics. I won't say I'm an expert because I'm not. But in some of the communities where they banned them, they just found that people went out and bought them. You know, so the business couldn't give it out, but the people were still using just as many. And so I guess I don't want to try to make a small business person that's trying to survive in a tough and economic environment be responsible for something I should be responsible for, as in not throwing the trash on the ground. So maybe we could engage with our business partners in the city and try to do a similar thing to the driving pledge with the looking at our neighborhoods and our habit relative to Earth Day, keeping our environment clean. But anyway, that's just my sort of philosophical thought on it. Thank you.
I hear you on that, Councilor Vacant, but I would add that we've kind of been doing that for at least 10 years now, too, at the same time. So, but
I know.
thank you. So on the motion, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just going to make one more small point.
Go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
You know, I really, I mean, this has been in their jacket since for going on 2+ years. I think your idea about the NIP thing, they're trying that out in Chicopee. You can talk to Mary Beth Costello. She's a counselor that supports that and has advocated for it. I don't know if it passed city council yet, but they're certainly looking into it because it's a serious problem. It's a mess. I would also ask you, just rhetorically, just to think about this. I mean, we all see shopping carts. I see them all over the place. People leaving shopping carts, just whatever they darn well please. I mean, are we going to say that we're going to ban shopping carts? No, of course not. But it's one of those things where some of it is well-intentioned as this order is, and it is well-intentioned. I respect it. It's just really, it is a massive burden, I think, for everybody. So on my motion, I wish there was another way to say it besides leave to withdraw, because it makes it sound like it's been vaporized. I don't want it to sound like that. I would say, I said respectfully leave to withdraw, and then hopefully we can come up with some more direct orders that get to the place we want to get. So that's how I left it.
Thank you. And then I guess what I would say on the carts, there's got to be enforcement on the carts too. Not that I would ban it, but like, come on, there's got to be some sort of responsibility.
There's a way to enforce it.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
So any counselor should do this, because I've done it, I can't count how many times. The process we have in the city is to try to do the best you can to identify where the shopping cart came from. So we'll just say save a lot. And I rarely see them, but I do see them.
Super fresh now.
Oh, okay, I do see them. So what I'll do is I'll identify it, I'll call the BOH, and they'll come and contact DPW, and the DPW will get it, and they'll bring it back to Save a Lot, and Save a Lot is going to get a warning, and then next time they're going to get a ticket.
All right, so then there's already a process. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
So then
yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
there's a process.
It's the same concept in a sense. But all right, I got you on that. Thank you for that.
Okay. All right, so that's my motion.
On the motion, Councilor Vacant.
Yes.
Councilor Bartley.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Councilor Israel Rivera. Yes.
Okay, just all respect in there too. So hopefully, I almost said Jeff will put down the minutes, because we do respect it, and we're going to follow up with some better orders on that one, okay? Do we get through the whole thing?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Yep,
Good night.
have fun.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.